The heartwarming encounter, Elon Musk and the lost little girl. It was a cold, crisp autumn evening in Los Angeles, one of those rare nights when the city seems to slow down just a bit. The typical rush of cars and chatter had eased, making way for a calmness that would soon be disrupted by an extraordinary act of kindness. Elon Musk, one of the wealthiest and most influential men in the world, was on his way home after a long day at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. But tonight, instead of boarding one of his private jets or taking his usual chauffeured ride, he made an unexpected choice. He decided to ride a simple city bus. This wasn't something Elon typically did. Known for his cutting-edge ventures, from revolutionizing electric vehicles to spearheading space exploration, his life was a whirlwind of business meetings, innovations, and strategic planning. However, in the midst of his busy schedule, he had been reflecting on something that had been bothering him for some time. Despite his immense success, he had begun to feel a disconnect from the ordinary world, the world where people didn't have access to private jets, luxurious cars, and endless resources. In a rare moment of spontaneity, Elon wanted to experience life like the everyday person, just for a while. As he stood at the bus stop in his signature hoodie, blending in with the crowd as best as he could, no one noticed that one of the richest men in the world was simply waiting for public transportation. It was exactly how he wanted it. The people around him were too engrossed in their own lives, checking their phones, engaging in quiet conversations, to notice the man who was quietly standing among them. It felt oddly liberating for Elon. For once, he wasn't a billionaire innovator or a public figure. He was just a regular guy, waiting for the bus. When the bus arrived, Elon swiped his card like any other commuter and found an empty seat. The bus was only half full, with a few tired passengers making their way home after a long day's work. Elon took a seat in the middle, looking out the window, watching the lights of the city pass by. For the first time in ages, his mind wasn't racing with thoughts of Mars or the latest advancements in artificial intelligence. He was simply present, enjoying a moment of peace amidst the chaos of his everyday life. As the bus continued on its route through Los Angeles, passing through both affluent neighborhoods and more humble ones, something caught Elon's eye. Towards the back of the bus, seated all alone, was a small girl. No older than 5, she was clearly by herself, a sight that immediately tugged at Elon's heart. At first, he dismissed it as nothing unusual. Perhaps her parents were nearby, or maybe they were about to get off at the next stop. But as the minutes passed, the little girl remained alone. She sat curled up in a seat far too big for her, clutching a well-worn teddy bear in one hand and a small pink backpack in the other. Her wide eyes stared out the window, but her face was a mixture of confusion and uncertainty, as though she didn't quite know where she was or where she was supposed to be. Elon scanned the bus, searching for any sign of an adult who might be with the girl. But all around him, passengers were absorbed in their own worlds. No one seemed to notice or care about the child sitting by herself. The situation didn't sit right with him. His heart began to ache, and he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was off. This wasn't the logical, problem-solving side of Elon Musk, the man who built rockets and dreamed of interplanetary colonization. This was something more primal, a fatherly instinct. Elon had children of his own, and the thought of one of them being lost or alone made his chest tighten with concern. He hesitated for a moment, not wanting to overstep in such a delicate situation, but then something in his gut told him he couldn't just sit there and do nothing. The bus was nearing its last stops, and still, no one had come for the little girl. His urgency grew. Elon stood up, moving cautiously down the aisle towards her. As he drew closer, he could see the sadness in her face more clearly. Her teddy bear, though well-loved, was a symbol of her distress, a sign that she was clinging to whatever comfort she could find in an overwhelming situation. At this point, the bus was nearly empty, and the streets outside were eerily quiet. Elon knelt down in front of the little girl, his heart racing as the full weight of the situation hit him. This child was alone, with no parents or guardians in sight. It wasn't just a moment of lost luggage. This was a young child left alone in a vast city at night. For someone who had spent years working on futuristic technologies, rockets, and artificial intelligence, this moment, kneeling in front of a vulnerable child, felt like one of the most important things he had ever done. With a gentle smile, Elon spoke softly to the little girl, hoping to calm her fear. "Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. I'm here to help. Can you tell me your name?" he asked, his voice warm and reassuring. The girl shifted nervously in her seat, hugging her teddy bear tighter. She looked at him, unsure, as if trying to gauge whether she could trust this stranger. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she whispered her name. "Maddie." Hearing her voice, Elon felt a wave of relief wash over him. At least she was still able to communicate, still holding on to some form of hope. But as he looked closer, he noticed her small hands shaking, her cheeks streaked with dried tears. She had clearly been crying for some time before Elon had even noticed her presence. "Hi, Maddie," he said softly. "My name's Elon. Are you lost? Do you know where your mom or dad are?" Maddie nodded slowly, then shook her head, her lips trembling as more tears threatened to fall. In a faint voice, barely audible, she whispered, "I don't know where Mommy is. I was waiting for her, but she didn't come." Elon's chest tightened at the heartbreaking words. This little girl had been waiting for her mother, who had clearly not shown up, leaving Maddie alone in the vast world of Los Angeles. His mind raced as he tried to figure out what to do. But one thing was certain: his world of business meetings, deadlines, and futuristic plans faded away in that moment. What mattered now was getting Maddie to safety. Just then, the bus driver, who had been watching the scene unfold in the rearview mirror, walked over. Concern was evident on his face as he approached Elon. "Is everything okay here? Is she lost?" the driver asked softly. Elon nodded, his voice steady but filled with compassion. "Yeah, she's lost. She's been waiting for her mom, but it looks like no one's come to get her." The bus driver looked down at Maddie with sympathy. "Poor thing," he murmured. "Should we call the police?" Elon hesitated. He didn't want to scare Maddie more than she already was, but he knew that the situation was far beyond what he could handle on his own. The best option was to get the authorities involved, to ensure Maddie's safe return to her family. After a moment, Elon agreed. "Yeah, we should call the cops. Maybe they can help us figure out where her mom is." The driver nodded and stepped off the bus to make the call. Elon stayed by Maddie's side, trying his best to comfort her as they waited. The fear in her eyes was palpable, and it broke his heart to see such a small child so terrified and alone. He wished there was more he could do to ease her fear. As they waited, Elon continued to speak softly to Maddie, trying to distract her from the anxiety of the situation. He reassured her that everything would be okay, that she would soon be reunited with her mother. Though Elon Musk was known for his work in space exploration, this moment, offering comfort and support to a scared little girl, was a reminder that sometimes, the most important thing you can do is simply be there for someone in need. The story of Elon Musk's random encounter with Maddie, the lost girl, is one of those rare moments that reveals the humanity behind the headlines. It's a reminder that no matter how busy or successful we become, we must never lose sight of the importance of kindness and empathy in our daily lives. In the end, Elon Musk did not just help a little girl find her way home, he reminded us all that compassion is a universal language that transcends wealth, fame, and status.